Well, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. We have got more than we could ever possibly cram in 30 minutes. I'm Jerry Cooey.
I'm Deborah Nelson.
And once again, you found us on MediaCom Channel 27. Tell your friends, tell your neighbors, and you can also watch all of our shows on YouTube. Deborah, we got to talk fast.
Yes.
Got to talk fast. Ladies and gentlemen, this week, certainly, Santa Rosa Week right here, Deborah and I broke all of what we're going to talk about today. We are the first news media to cover any of this.
We covered it a long time ago, but now the mainstream media is catching up.
We covered it as much as 6 or 8 months ago.
I'm guessing maybe they watch our show.
Well, maybe they're getting their stuff from our show. But we're going to buzz this through as rapidly as we can. And I do want to say before we begin, because the subject matter is going to be the military affairs position for Santa Rosa County.
At Team Santa Rosa.
At Team Santa Rosa. I believe that we were very gracious to Mr. Pete Gandy personally. We gave him 2 of our shows back to back where he could say whatever he wanted to.
And he was very gracious to come on the show.
And I do appreciate that. And I will say, I went to a couple places today. Both those locations where I talked with some folks at, they said that the individual, Mr. Gandy, was potentially the best person. But their argument, hands down, is they're just infuriated in how it was handled. It was behind the doors and all that. But with that said, let me say to Mr. Dick Snyder of the Pensacola News-Journal, although I have swung the Louisville Slugger at you a few times, I appreciate you stepping up to the plate. And on Friday, you wrote a story, or allowed a story to be in there, actually written by Lewis Cooper, Development Council's Inside Hire Under Fire, job listing buried on the Team Santa Rosa webpage. And so we'll go over it real quick again. It was discussed behind closed doors, out of the sunshine. Mr. Gandy was a board member. He wrote the RFP. Cindy Anderson and Mr. Gandy did discuss hiding this, burying this, so that they would have limited applications to come in. According to the Pensacola News-Journal, and I do believe Mr. Lewis Cooper talked to all the interested parties here, there were only 2 candidates that came forth. They determined that neither one of those candidates were suitable. Mr. Gandy resigned as a board member, placed his application on the table, and Mr. Gandy got the job. I can tell you that this one article has generated quite a bit of discussion around.
Yes, it has.
Around
I'm still in shock they published it.
Well, it's certainly we have pointed some of these things out to them.
Well, they've known about this story for about a year.
Absolutely. And I think it's only fair just to give, for those of you who maybe don't look at the Pensacola News-Journal blog or understand what that is, attached to this story, people can post their comments. And I've picked out 2 or 3 here that I want to read to you, kind of give you an idea of what people are thinking. The first one was Brian 64. You missed the key words in the quote. Gray said that Gandy stated if his appointed cast a bad light on team. Well, that damage was done a long time ago. I would like to see the Pensacola News-Journal actually dig and see how many so-called jobs team has brought to the county versus how much money they have bilked the taxpayers.
That's something we asked for last week at their last hearing.
Absolutely.
We're still waiting on that.
We have another poster, Real Republican. Well, I'm so happy to finally see some investigative work being done by the P&J. This article certainly puts Team Santa Rosa in a very bad light. I would also point out that all of this occurred behind closed doors without the public in attendance. This is the taxpayers' money, and I'm very upset that team thinks they can do whatever they want without being accountable for their actions. And then one more, and C.W. Mine put this in bold letters. Salter says nothing illegal was done. And C.W. Mine's comments were, this jerk does not understand that the Sunshine Law was completely ignored. Only when Allen pushed the issue was it open to the public. Salter stinks at the very best. Also, Gray is not believable, no matter if it's team business or the school board. Team needs to be done away with, and Salter, Gray, Anderson held accountable for their actions. Don't forget about Gandy. All this was his idea. So, you know, that was kind of a cross section. There were some of them a little bit worse than that, you know. So I read the ones that
there wasn't a lot of support for Team Santa Rosa on any of these stories.
You know, the underlining thing that people are upset about is the method at which they got to the job.
Right.
You know, nobody, to my knowledge, has had a harsh word to say about Mr. Pete Gandy.
Right.
But you cannot, and apparently most people are unwilling to overlook the fact of how it was done. You know, it just looks bad.
And well, and this has been the ongoing issue with Team Santa Rosa, is, you know, we're not interested in letting you know anything that we're doing over here. In fact, we're going to go ahead and close the doors so that we can, I think, so that they can pass county business through Team Santa Rosa, and that's a way to keep it out of the public eye.
Right.
It's almost functioned as a shadow government.
Exactly, and certainly, and I meant to say the Allen that was referred to in that is our friend Alan Isaacson, who I'm gonna tell you, ladies and gentlemen, I'm almost convinced that he has read every email that's ever been sent in Santa Rosa County over the last 2.5 years.
I think he's asked for all of them.
You just don't know, ladies and gentlemen, and you need to show a little love and appreciation, because Alan is the one that has dug all of these emails out. If it weren't for him, you would never know. You would just be sitting there doing your thing and taking care of your family, and you wouldn't know how some of this stuff looks. And
he's had to be very aggressive just to get this. I mean, if you follow the chain of command, you know, follow standard procedure the way that the media would, none of this ever would have come out.
Right. He is of course yours truly has participated in getting some of those emails too, but actually he's got a pretty good system now. You know, our county attorney, Mr. Danhauser, and let me say that our county attorney, Mr. Tom Danhauser, understands the Sunshine Law, appreciates the Sunshine Law, and does everything he can to make sure that in county operations the Sunshine Law is fulfilled. He will not allow it not to be fulfilled. And with that said, typically anything that I ask him for, Alan, or anybody else, if you're curious about something, tell them what you're curious about, and they'll certainly let you look at it. You know, the problem is team. Team continues to play games. Even after they've howled so much that, well, we only knew in January we had to follow all of this. Well, they're still violating it today, Deborah. I mean, you know, Alan and I went down the other day, and one email that we knew that should have been there, it wasn't there. We had to go back up front and ask for it again. And I'm telling you right now, and I have certainly made the right people aware that this behavior is continued.